You ever notice how when a woman really wakes up, her whole energy shifts? Like she don't even gotta say too much, you can just feel it. That softness mixed with strength, that calm that still commands respect. See, that's the energy of an awakened woman. She ain't angry, she just done. Done letting people play with her peace. Done explaining her work. Done watering their plants. Trying to prove she got love in her heart. An awakened woman moves different. She's been through the fire, and she learned how to walk through it without losing herself. She ain't perfect, but she's aligned now. And alignment comes with boundaries, sacred ones. So let me break down the 7 boundaries she never lets anyone cross again. Energy, that's the real currency. Not money, not followers, not validation. Your energy is what makes you magnetic, what makes you powerful, what makes you you. And once you realize that, you stop giving it away cheap. You stop letting people pull you into chaos that don't align with your peace. You start understanding that every time you argue over small things, every time you explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, every time you chase what's already showing you it don't want to stay, you losing energy you could be using to build your world. See, most people don't even notice when their energy leaking. They call it being tired, being unmotivated, being stuck. But really, they've just been letting too many hands touch their spirit, too many opinions inside their mind, too many fake connections pretending to be love. An awakened soul moves different. You start valuing silence more than attention. You stop replying to everything that don't feed your focus. You walk away, not out of weakness, but because peace started feeling better than proving your point ever did. Protecting your energy don't mean you cold or heartless. It means you wise enough to know your light ain't meant for every room. Some spaces dim your spirit just so they can feel comfortable. Some people love your presence only because it distracts them from their own emptiness. You can't heal people who ain't ready to face their wounds, and you can't pour from a cup that's running dry. You ever notice how when your energy clean, life start moving smoother? That's because what's for you don't fight your frequency. When you're aligned, opportunities find you, real people show up. Peace becomes your normal, not your vacation. But it starts with saying no and meaning it. No to conversations that drain you. No to habits that lower your vibration. No to circles that gossip more than they grow. No to connections that only call when they need something. No to explaining yourself to people who already decided how they see you. There's a kind of power that comes with being still. When you stop chasing, things start flowing. When you stop trying to convince, truth starts revealing. You realize energy protection ain't just spiritual, it's survival. Because not everyone around you wants you to rise. Some just want to stand close enough to your light to say they were there. So you start being selective. Who gets your time? Who gets your ear? Who gets your access? You stop showing up to every invitation. Stop picking up every call. Stop trying to fix every situation. You move with intention because you learn peace feels better than attention. You learn being misunderstood is okay if it means being free. You learn isolation ain't punishment, it's preparation. The real flex ain't the lifestyle, it's the energy behind it. That calm confidence, that steady motion, that ability to stay centered even when everything around you is shaking. That's growth, that's evolution. You stop reacting out of emotion and start responding with vision. You start recognizing when energy shifts, when people's words don't match their spirit. You don't argue, you just fall back. Because when you truly protect your energy, you realize silence got its own language. You start loving differently too. Not out of fear, but out of understanding. You give, but you don't overextend. You listen, but you don't absorb everything. You help, but you don't drain yourself, trying to save people from lessons they need to face. You build boundaries not to keep people out, but to keep your peace in. Energy protection becomes a lifestyle. It shows in how you walk, how you speak, how you move. You stop chasing validations. You stop explaining your vision. You stop oversharing your dreams with people who ain't prayed for your success. You move quiet, you move focused, you move real. And when people say you changed, you just smile because they don't understand what it took to protect that peace. They don't know how many nights you had to sit in silence just to hear your own thoughts again. They don't know how many times you had to rebuild yourself from exhaustion, from disappointment, from betrayal. But you learn that your energy is sacred. You learn that peace ain't something you find, it's something you protect. And once you learn that, you never go back. Because when your energy right, your world follow. And that's when you start seeing life respond different because the universe always mirrors your energy. So protect it like it's gold, because that's exactly what it is. Respect ain't something you demand. It's something you command through how you carry yourself. It's in your tone, your silence, your presence. When you really start respecting yourself, you stop needing validation from anybody else. You stop chasing closure. You stop begging to be understood. You stop over-explaining what's already clear. Because the moment you start seeing your worth, disrespect starts standing out like noise in a quiet room. It's not about ego, it's about self-value. You know, when you've been through real things, you start moving with a calm authority. You don't chase attention, you attract it by staying grounded. You don't talk about your worth, you live it. You don't explain your boundaries, you enforce them. Because you know respect ain't something you ask for, it's something you align with. There's a shift that happens when you start honoring yourself. The world starts shifting with you. The people who truly value you step closer, and the ones who only came for what you could give start fading out. You stop taking it personal when people leave, because you understand that your energy stopped matching theirs. You outgrew what wasn't built on truth. That's respect too. Respecting the process, respecting your growth, respecting that not everybody meant to walk your path with you. See, respect goes both ways. It's not about being loud or tough. It's about being solid. You can stand tall without stepping on anybody. You can be kind without being a pushover. You can forgive without forgetting what was shown to you. You learn to observe more and react less. Because when you got self-respect, you ain't pressed to prove a point. You just fall back and let people expose themselves through consistency. You start noticing how peace feels when you stop letting disrespects slide. That silence after you walk away from something that don't serve you anymore, that's freedom. You stop replaying old situations in your mind, stop trying to rewrite what already happened. You realize every time you let someone treat you less than you deserve, you're teaching them it's okay. And you can't blame them for learning what you kept allowing. So you tighten up, you move sharper, you set the standard higher. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence. You look people in the eye, but you don't seek approval. You give respect to everybody, but you demand it back through your energy. If someone can't see your value, that's their blindness, not your fault. You stop chasing respect in spaces that ain't built to honor you. You start giving your energy to people who speak life into you, who hold you accountable, who move with the same integrity you do. Real respect shows up in how you treat yourself when nobody watching. It's in how you speak to yourself, how you rest, how you protect your boundaries, how you refuse to settle. It's not about being better than anyone. It's about being better for yourself. When you walk in that truth, you don't got to demand anything. People just know how to approach you. They feel the difference. There's strength in walking away from anything that costs your respect. There's power in being silent when your peace on the line. You stop fighting to prove your worth because you finally understand your presence alone is proof enough. The more you respect yourself, the less you tolerate anything that don't match that energy. That's the evolution, going from needing validation to standing on self-respect. That's when you move different. You speak with purpose, you listen with patience, you love with boundaries. You ain't above nobody, but you ain't beneath nobody either. You meet life eye to eye, solid, calm, unshakable. Because once you learn what respect really feels like, once you give it to yourself first, you never let nobody take it from you again. Emotions, that's where most people get tested. You can be strong, you can be focused, but the real challenge comes when your heart get involved, when you care deep, when you love hard, when your intention's pure. That's where people start to test your access. That's why emotional access gotta be earned, not handed out. Because once you've been through some real pain, you learn not everybody deserves a front row seat to your soul. You can't keep giving your emotions to people who don't know what to do with them. Some people only show up when they need your energy to fix their emptiness. Some love the attention, but not the responsibility that comes with your loyalty. They'll take your kindness as weakness, your care as control, your love as something to play with. That's why you gotta protect your emotional space like it's sacred ground, because it is. You start learning to listen more and give less. You stop giving explanations to people who don't hear your silence. You stop being available for every I miss you that don't come with change. You realize love without respect is manipulation, and forgiveness without boundaries is self-sabotage. That's growth. That's when you start moving with emotional discipline. You ain't cold, you just done giving your soul to situations that don't water it. You can love people from a distance. You can wish them well and still not let them back in your energy. You can forgive and still move on. That's emotional maturity, not revenge, not bitterness, just clarity. Once you start seeing who drains you and who refuels you, life get real simple. You stop overgiving. You stop explaining why you're distant. You stop feeling guilty for protecting your heart. Because when your emotions been played with too many times, peace start feeling like love. And see, emotional access ain't about cutting everybody off. It's about balance. You start recognizing that your emotions are a gift, your empathy, your patience, your understanding. Those are rare. And rare things don't get handled by just anybody. You start watching who gets your attention, who gets your vulnerability, who gets your energy when you're tired. Because not everyone who reaches for you deserves to hold you. You learn the difference between people who want to connect and people who just want comfort. One comes with growth, the other comes with dependency. You can't carry people who refuse to walk. You can't heal people who use your love as a bandage, but never want to stop bleeding. Emotional access means knowing when to pull back, knowing when to protect your peace instead of saving someone else from their chaos. You used to think being there for everybody made you loyal, but now you know loyalty without boundaries is self-destruction. You used to think silence meant weakness. Now you know silence is power, it's control, it's awareness. You stop reacting every time someone tries to get a rise out of you. You start observing instead of absorbing. You start choosing peace over proving yourself. Because your emotions are no longer public property, they're private equity now. When you start guarding your emotions, your energy shifts. People start saying you changed. Nah, you just healed. You stop letting pain be your teacher and started letting peace be your guide. You stopped explaining why you need space. You stopped letting guilt drag you back into situations you already outgrew. You stopped confusing familiarity with connection. That's emotional growth. That's when you move from needing validation to valuing vibration. You start noticing who checks in when you quiet, who listens when you speak, who respects your no. That's how you decide who gets emotional access. You stop rewarding inconsistency. You stop settling for halfway love. You stop explaining why you're not available like before. Because the truth is, you're working on your peace, you're rebuilding your energy, you're protecting something deeper than feelings, your spirit. And when you operate from that place, you love better too. You love cleaner. You love without losing yourself. You can give your heart and still keep your balance. You can care without carrying. You can support without saving. You can show up for people without shrinking yourself. That's what emotional control look like. Love with wisdom, empathy with limits, care with clarity. So you move different now. You got peace in your presence. You don't let everyone inside your head. You don't let everyone touch your emotions. You don't let every message pull you off your path. You still got love, still got heart, but now you also got boundaries. You build walls with doors, not cages. Only the real ones get the key. Because once you learn how sacred your emotions are, you stop handing them out like free samples. You become intentional, you become selective, you become grounded. And when people feel that shift, when they can't drain you no more, they call it distance. But it ain't distance, it's discipline. It's knowing your energy worth protecting. That's the kind of growth that hit deep. When your peace means more than your past, when your emotions work for you, not against you, when your heart finally rests where it's respected, that's when you know you heal different. There comes a point in life where you stop living for applause and start living for alignment. You stop caring who like you, who follow you, who agree with you, and you start asking, does this move serve my purpose? That's the shift. That's when you level up mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You stop being addicted to being liked and start being loyal to your mission. Because truth is, chasing validation is the fastest way to lose yourself. You realize how much time you spend shrinking just to fit into spaces that never respected your growth. You used to silence your ideas just to make other people comfortable. You used to overextend yourself trying to prove you worthy. But pleasing people is a full-time job that don't pay nothing back but burnout. And once you wake up to that, you start moving with intention. You stop trying to please the crowd and start serving the calling. See, purpose don't need permission. It don't need approval. It don't wait for nobody to co-sign it. Purpose comes from within. It's that voice that keep talking even when the world loud. And when you start listening to it, you start understanding peace ain't found in being accepted. It's found in being authentic. Pleasing people might make you liked, but purpose make you fulfilled. You got to choose what kind of life you want. One built on validation or one built on vision. Because when you live to please, you end up being everything for everybody and nothing for yourself. You water every garden but your own. You carry people who wouldn't walk for you. You bend your truths so you don't break their comfort. That's a heavy way to live. But when you switch that energy toward purpose, you get lighter. You get focused. You stop chasing temporary approval and start building something that lasts. Living for purpose means moving different. It means saying no without feeling guilty. It means standing alone when your spirit tell you to leave. It means trusting that your path might look lonely, but it's still leading somewhere divine. People might not understand your moves right now. That's fine. They're not supposed to. Your purpose is coded for you, not for them. We start to realize that people pleasing is just fear dressed up nice, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of disappointing someone. But purpose don't move with fear. It moves with faith. It tells you to keep going even when it's quiet, even when support is missing, even when nobody clapping, because purpose ain't about attention, it's about impact. It's about doing what you were built to do, even when it don't make sense yet. When you stop pleasing and start living with purpose, your circle change. You attract people who respect your grind instead of draining it. You find yourself in rooms where your authenticity fits instead of your compromise. You stop needing to explain your vision to small minds. You stop begging for love that should have been mutual. You stop overplaying your role in people's lives just to stay relevant in theirs. You start moving quiet, not because you're hiding, but because you're protecting. You understand that peace and purpose walk together. You can't please everyone and still walk in alignment. You can't carry everybody and still climb your mountain. You can't be available for every distraction and still hear divine direction. So you start cutting the noise. You start choosing your energy wisely. You stop over-explaining your boundaries. You just move in purpose and let results do the talking. There's a certain kind of power that comes when you stop needing to be liked. You become dangerous in the best way, not to others, but to your old self. You stop being controlled by outside opinions. You stop folding under pressure. You stop letting guilt guide your choices. You start walking like you know exactly who you are and where you're headed. That's what peace feels like. That's what purpose looks like. You learn that real ones respect boundaries. Real love respects space. Real alignment respects timing. You don't gotta prove nothing to nobody. You don't gotta force connection. You don't gotta water yourself down to keep peace that ain't real. Purpose will cost you people comfort and approval, but it'll give you power, clarity, and peace. The world will tell you to please, to blend in, to stay humble in a way that means stay small. But you weren't built to be small. You were built to build, to elevate, to inspire. Purpose don't ask you to please. It asks you to grow. And growth don't happen in comfort. It happens when you finally stop choosing other people's approval over your own evolution. So now you move different. You show up for yourself like you used to show up for everybody else. You set boundaries like your life pin on it. You choose silence over begging. You choose alignment over attention. You choose yourself, not out of ego, but out of peace. Because once you start living for purpose, the need to please disappear. And when that happens, you become unstoppable, not because people believe in you, but because you finally do. Presence is powerful. The older you get, the more you realize not everybody deserves to be around you. Not everybody deserves access to your space, your time, or your energy. You start understanding that your presence is currency and where you spend it matters. You don't show up everywhere anymore. You don't chase invitations. You don't beg for seats at tables that don't feed your spirit. You learn that your energy is too valuable to be everywhere at once. It's supposed to be selective. You used to move like you owed everybody your time. You used to say yes just to keep the peace, to be nice, to avoid being misunderstood. But every time you showed up where your soul didn't want to be, you paid a price with your peace, your focus, your energy. That's when it hits you. Not everyone earns your presence. Some just borrow it and leave you empty. So now you move intentional. You go where you're respected, not where you're tolerated. You talk less, listen more, and observe everything. Selective presence ain't about ego, it's about alignment. You start protecting your energy like it's gold, because it is. You realize you can't grow if you keep planting yourself in dead soil. You can't evolve if you stay around people who want you to stay the same. You can't think clear when your circle filled with noise. So you pull back, you distance yourself, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Because peace feels better than being included in chaos. You start valuing solitude, that quiet time with your own thoughts becomes sacred. You don't need constant noise to feel alive anymore. You stop fearing silence. You stop confusing being alone with being lonely. You learn that peace don't need company, it just needs clarity. You find strength in stillness. You start creating from a place of calm instead of pressure. That's what selective presence look like. being at peace with not being everywhere, being fine with not being invited, being content with just being where you're supposed to be. You begin to see people different too. You notice who brings light when they walk in and who brings tension. You feel the energy before the words even come. That's intuition sharpening. You stop explaining why you distant. You stop defending your boundaries. You just move. You show up less, but when you do, it's real. You present, you grounded, you intentional. That's the difference. Your presence start carrying weight again because it's not scattered. When your presence used to be everywhere, people took it for granted. They expected it. But when you start moving with purpose, when you stop showing up for things that don't align with you, that's when people start noticing your absence. They realize your energy wasn't ordinary. It was valuable. And that's when you understand your worth ain't in how available you are, but in how disciplined you stay. Being selective also means you choose peace over pressure. You stop explaining your grind, stop defending your silence, stop trying to prove your loyalty. The people who really see you won't need all that. They'll understand your focus. They'll respect your distance. They'll know your absence don't mean disconnect. It mean dedication. You can't build an empire if you constantly entertaining distractions. You can't grow if you're too busy being accessible to everything that don't serve you. So now you show up for what matters, for the things that build, that inspire, that align. You show up for people who pour back into you, not the ones who drain. You show up for moments that bring peace, not for conversations that bring confusion. That's the evolution, moving from being everywhere to being exactly where you meant to be. Selective presence teaches you discipline. It shows you that protecting your space is protecting your power. You can't manifest peace while entertaining chaos. You can't attract blessings while sitting in low energy. You can't elevate while staying surrounded by what you already outgrew. So you move different. You stop making yourself small to be accepted. You stop chasing validation from people who never clap for you anyway. You stop explaining your distance to people who never earned your closeness. You become intentional. Every room you step in, every person you talk to, every plan you make is all energy exchange now. You walk with purpose, not impulse. You don't react, you respond. You don't rush, you align. And because you move like that, you glow different. You attract peace, not drama. You attract clarity, not confusion. You attract quality, not quantity. And the best part, you don't need to announce it. People feel it. They feel the difference in your vibe, your tone, your silence. You ain't cold, you just conscious. You ain't distant, you just focused. You ain't arrogant, you just aware of your value. That's the real power when your presence becomes so intentional, it speaks louder than your words. When people know if you're dead, it means something. When your time, your energy, your attention becomes sacred, that's growth. That's when you stop chasing noise and start living in peace. Because real strength ain't in being everywhere. It's in being exactly where your spirit feels free.